Listen to me, because this is not a coincidence that you are hearing these words right now. You are standing at the edge of something powerful. You are standing at the doorway of divine restoration. God is about to restore what you've lost. What the enemy stole from you, what time seemed to take away, what pain tried to bury, God is about to bring it back with greater power, deeper meaning, and stronger glory than before. You may think your story is over, but God is saying, I am not finished yet. Every tear, every disappointment, every closed door was not the end. It was preparation for a restoration that will leave you speechless. There are moments in life when we look around and see only ashes. The dreams that once burned brightly have turned to dust. The relationships we cherished have fallen apart. The confidence we once carried has been shaken. But hear me, God is not intimidated by ashes. God creates from ashes. God takes the ruins of your life and builds something magnificent. He takes what looks broken beyond repair and breathes His power into it until it shines brighter than before. You see, what you call loss, God calls transition. What you call the end, God calls the beginning. There is no such a thing as permanent loss in the hands of God, only divine exchange. Some of you have cried in secret. You have looked at the things you lost and wondered, will I ever rise again? Will I ever feel whole again? You have walked through silent nights questioning where God went. But I tell you now, God never left. He was watching when others turned their backs. He was present when you were betrayed. He was there when you felt invisible, when you felt forgotten. God saw your pain, and now He is moving to restore. When God restores, He doesn't return what was lost in the same form. It comes back better, greater, transformed. When God restores, He multiplies. When God restores, He exceeds the expectation. The same God who brought light out of darkness is now bringing beauty out of your brokenness. You might have thought that loss meant defeat, but sometimes God allows things to fall apart so that He can rebuild your life on stronger foundations. Some relationships had to end so your heart could learn the depth of His love. Some opportunities had to vanish so your faith could grow beyond what you see. Some dreams had to die so new ones could be born. What you lost was not a punishment. It was a setup. God was not subtracting. He was making space. You cannot receive what is coming if your hands are still holding what was. God is saying, let go of yesterday. I am about to give you something that will make you forget the pain of your past. You see, when God restores, He restores with intention. He doesn't just replace things, He renews them. Think about it. The barren land becomes a garden again. The dry bones rise and breathe again. The empty heart finds peace again. The weary soul sings again. That is restoration. God is not just giving you what you had, He is giving you what you were always meant to have. The delay has not denied you, it has refined you. You have been through the fire, but the fire didn't consume you, it purified you. You walked through storms, but those storms taught you strength. And now you are ready to receive what is rightfully yours. Some of you are saying, but I've lost too much. I've made too many mistakes. No, my friend, nothing is too far gone for God. The same power that created the universe is the same power that can rebuild your life. Do not measure your future by your failures. God can take your greatest pain and turn it into your greatest testimony. God can take your broken heart and make it the birthplace of your greatest purpose. Every loss you've experienced is a seed, and when God breathes upon it, it becomes a harvest. You may have lost the time, opportunities, friendships, or even yourself, but when God restores, He restores in ways that will make you say, now I understand why I had to go through that. Restoration is not just about what you will receive, it's about who you are becoming. Through loss, God molds your character. Through waiting, God strengthens your faith. Through pain, God deepens your wisdom. You see, God is more interested in your transformation than your comfort. That's why sometimes He allows certain things to leave, because if they stayed, you would have settled. You would have stopped growing. You would have missed the higher level He prepared for you. So don't curse the loss. Bless it, because that loss became the soil where God planted your new beginning. The time is coming, yes, the time is near, when you will look back and realize that nothing was wasted. Every delay, every heartbreak, every closed door was a divine step toward your destiny. God was not ignoring your prayers. He was aligning your path. God was not withholding. He was preparing. He was preparing a restoration that requires maturity, faith, and surrender. He was shaping you to handle what's coming, because restoration is not for the weak. It is for those who endure. And you have endured. You have survived nights that tried to destroy you. You have walked through battles that could have broken you. Yet here you are still standing, still breathing, still believing. That means your restoration is near. Let me tell you this. When God begins to restore, it happens suddenly. It happens in ways that no human can explain. You will wake up one morning and everything will start to shift. The doors that were once shut will begin to open. The people who overlooked you will start to notice you. The peace that you thought was gone forever will flood your heart again. That is how God works, quietly, powerfully, unexpectedly. He restores when it seems impossible. He restores when all hope is gone. Because He wants you to know it was never man, it was always Him. You may feel like your life has been reduced to fragments, but God specializes in taking fragments and making masterpieces. Look around. What seems broken beyond repair is not beyond His reach. God can turn a mistake into a miracle. He can turn a setback into a setup. He can turn rejection into redirection. The same God who spoke life into nothingness can speak restoration into your situation. The same God who created seasons has ordained a new season for you. You are stepping into a season of recovery, a season of renewal, a season where everything you lost will return multiplied. This is why you cannot give up now. You cannot let your current pain convince you that your story is over. You cannot let temporary loss blind you from eternal purpose. God has already written the next chapter, and it is filled with restoration. You are closer than you think. You are standing in the doorway of a turnaround. God is about to surprise you. The tears you cried in private are about to become testimonies in public. What you lost in one season will be returned in the next with a greater value. God is about to prove that your pain was not in vain. There is something sacred about waiting. Waiting breaks pride. Waiting builds trust. Waiting teaches dependence. And it is often in waiting that restoration is born. God never forgets those who wait in faith. When you thought nothing was happening, God was working behind the scenes. He was rearranging circumstances, preparing hearts, and setting the stage for your comeback. You are not waiting in vain. You are waiting for divine timing. When that timing arrives, nothing can stop it. No opposition can block it. No enemy can delay it. God's word will not return empty. What He promised, He will perform. And when it happens, you will understand why you had to lose certain things. Some people had to leave so you could walk lighter. Some doors had to close so better ones could open. Some seasons had to end so a new one could begin. It all had to happen for your growth, your protection, and your purpose. So stop mourning what's gone. Start expecting what's coming. Because what's coming will not compare to what you lost. What's coming will heal what was broken. What's coming will make you thank God for every delay. God is not just restoring material things. He is restoring your inner world, your peace, your confidence, your fire, your joy. He is restoring your strength, your clarity, your focus. Some of you have been walking around weary and drained, but God is breathing new life into your spirit. He is reviving your soul. You will feel alive again. You will laugh again. You will dream again. You will believe again. Because when God restores, He doesn't just touch your circumstances. He transforms your spirit. You will no longer live from the pain of the past, but from the promise of the future. It's time to lift your head. Stop rehearsing what you lost and start rejoicing for what's coming. Stop asking why and start declaring what? Declare that restoration is on its way. Declare that God is moving in your favor. Declare that what was stolen will be returned sevenfold. Your words have power. And when your faith aligns with God's promise, restoration begins to manifest. Speak life where there was loss. Speak hope where there was despair. Speak victory where there was defeat. Because your declaration sets the atmosphere for your transformation. Do not compare your journey with others. Your restoration will not look like theirs. God's plan for you is unique, and your path is sacred. You may feel behind, but you are right on time. You may feel overlooked, but God has been preparing something tailor-made for you. Others may not understand the process, but they will witness the result. They will see what God can do with a surrendered heart. And when they see your restoration, they will know it could only have been God. You are about to step into days of divine reversal. The pain will be replaced with peace. The loss will be replaced with abundance. The sorrow will be replaced with joy. God is turning the page. You are moving from loss to restoration, from waiting to winning, from brokenness to blessing. You are not the same person who entered the storm. You have been refined, strengthened, and prepared. Now you are ready to receive what has been waiting for you. Your life is about to become evidence of God's faithfulness. People will look at you and see what restoration looks like. They will see what endurance looks like. They will see what divine timing looks like. And you will no longer speak from pain, you will speak from victory. Every scar will tell a story of how God never abandoned you. Every healed wound will testify of His power to restore. You will be living proof that no loss is final when God is involved. There is a divine pattern to restoration, one that cannot be rushed, manipulated, or explained through human reasoning. When God restores, He does it with precision. He knows exactly when to send the right people, open the right doors, and release the right blessings. And sometimes before He restores what you lost, He restores you. He rebuilds your faith. He strengthens your heart. He clears your vision. Because what good is receiving restoration if the person receiving it is still broken? God is too wise to give you something that would crush you. So before He brings back what was lost, He brings you back into alignment. He restores your strength, your identity, your faith, your purpose. You have to understand this truth. When God takes something away, He is not robbing you. He is refining you. There are blessings that cannot live in the same space as all the burdens. There are victories that require the removal of what once felt safe. God does not restore you to where you were. He restores you to where you were meant to be. He restores you forward, not backward. This is why what is coming will not look like what you had. It will be better, purer, stronger, more suited to your destiny. What you lost may have looked like a treasure, but God saw the weight it carried, the distractions it held, and the limits it imposed. He removes what hinders to make space for what fulfills. The process of loss is painful, but loss often becomes the birthplace of a revelation. When you lose what you depended on, you discover what truly sustained you. When you lose what you thought you needed, you realize that all you ever needed was God. Restoration is not simply about getting things back. It is about coming to know God as your ultimate source. The people may change, the places may change, the resources may change, but God remains the constant. And when He restores, He reminds you that He alone holds your life in His hands. There are moments when God will let everything around you fall apart so that your dependence will shift entirely toward Him. You see, you cannot be restored to the fullness of destiny while clinging to things that once defined your worth. God had to remove them so He could reveal who you really are, His creation, His chosen vessel, His reflection. When you start seeing your life through that divine lens, you stop mourning over closed chapters. You begin to say, if God allowed it, then something greater is on the way. And that, my friend, is the beginning of a peace. Every loss carries a hidden instruction from God. There is a lesson encoded within every heartbreak, every delay, every disappointment. God does not waste pain. He does not allow wounds without weaving purpose through them. What hurt you the most will one day become the very testimony that heals someone else. That is the divine law of restoration. What once broke you becomes what builds others. God turns pain into power. He turns weakness into wisdom. And as He restores you, He will make your life a beacon for those still trapped in despair. Sometimes God will strip away what you built, not to destroy you, but to show you that your foundation was too shallow. He will allow certain structures to collapse because He wants to build something eternal within you. If He did not allow the shaking, you would have settled in comfort, not in purpose. But when everything falls, you are forced to look upward. You are forced to remember that your help never came from people, it came from God. And when you realize this, you stop chasing after what left and start preparing for what's coming. Because once you know the source, restoration becomes inevitable. You see, God never forgets what belongs to you. Time may pass, seasons may shift, but what is yours will find its way back by divine command. Even if the enemy tries to delay it, God will accelerate it. Even if others try to claim it, God will protect it. And when the right time comes, you will receive not just what you lost, but what you grew through losing it. That is divine interest. God never returns things in the same measure. He multiplies them. He returns peace for pain, wisdom for confusion, abundance for emptiness. You will not only be restored, you will be elevated. Think of this truth. When a seed falls into the ground, it looks like it has been buried, but in reality, it has been planted. You thought you were buried by loss, but you were planted for growth. And when God restores, He does not pull you out the same. He raised you higher. What looked like the end was only the beginning of a deeper process. You were not buried to die, you were buried to rise. That is why God says, do not mourn the soil, wait for the bloom. The soil may feel heavy now, but underneath it, life is stirring, purpose is growing, and restoration is on the way. God restores through unexpected means. He may use people you least expect, situations that seem impossible, or seasons that appear barren. But remember, God works best in the impossible. When everything seems dead, that is when His power is most visible. The greater the loss, the greater the miracle of restoration. So do not despise where you are right now. Do not despise the silence, the emptiness, or the waiting. Every moment is a divine preparation. Every delay is a sign that something divine is being perfected behind the scenes. There are people watching you, thinking it's over for you. They have written you off because of what you lost. But God is about to make your restoration a public display of His power. Those who pitied you will soon see you standing strong again. Those who mocked your fall will witness your rise. Because when God restores, He restores publicly. He restores in ways that silence the critics and glorify His name. That is why you must not fight to prove yourself. Let God do the proving. He is your vindicator, your restorer, your provider, your defender. Even your mistakes cannot stop God's restoration. Sometimes we lose things because of our own choices, our own missteps. But God is merciful. He does not hold your past against you. He uses it to push you forward. If you surrender to Him, He can even turn your failures into fuel for your destiny. The very thing that once brought you shame will become a story of redemption. God specializes in giving beauty for ashes, not by erasing the past, but by transforming it. You will not return to who you were. You will rise into who you were destined to be. And understand that this restoration is not always external first. It begins inside. God restores the mind before He restores the material. He restores your peace before He restores your position. Because if He restores outwardly before inwardly, you would not recognize the blessing when it arrives. So if you feel like nothing is happening, maybe God is working on the part of you no one else sees. Maybe He is restoring your spirit, removing fear, cleansing bitterness, healing the invisible wounds. Because when your soul is restored, everything else aligns. Sometimes what you thought was stolen was actually being safeguarded. God hides certain blessings until you are ready for them. You may think you lost an opportunity, but God was reserving it. You may think someone left you, but God was protecting you. What you lost was never meant to destroy you. It was meant to redirect you. You are not behind, you are being positioned. You are not empty, you are being prepared. You are not forgotten, you are being refined. Every loss has divine purpose attached to it. And now, after the fire, after the waiting, after the weeping, comes the moment of divine exchange. God is saying, you have endured enough. You have trusted through the storm. Now watch as I restore. He will restore the years that felt wasted. He will restore the time that seemed lost. He will restore the relationships that align with your destiny. He will restore your health, your strength, your joy, your confidence. Everything that was broken is about to be made whole again. But when it happens, you will know it was not luck, it was God. You may not understand how, but restoration does not require your understanding. It requires your belief. Faith opens the door for what reason cannot grasp. You cannot calculate God's restoration through logic. You can only receive it through surrender. So stop analyzing how it will happen and start believing that it will happen. God is not asking you to figure it out. He's asking you to trust Him. When your heart is anchored in faith, the impossible becomes inevitable. Do not let the weight of the past anchor you. The pain was real, but it was temporary. The loss was real, but it was not final. God is the author of restoration, and He never writes a story that ends in defeat. Your life is still unfolding, and the next chapter will astonish even you. Every loss was a comma, not a period. God paused the story to write something greater. What you thought was over is only just beginning. There comes a moment when the soul grows weary from the weight of waiting, when every prayer seems to echo unanswered, and every hope feels delayed beyond measure. But hear this truth: God is not slow. God is strategic. When you think He is silent, He's working with precision. What you call delay, He calls divine timing. Restoration is not rushed. It is orchestrated. It requires the right moment, the right conditions, the right readiness of your heart. And when those align, restoration does not trickle, it floods. It comes suddenly, overwhelmingly, undeniably. You will not have to chase it. It will chase you. You will not have to beg for it. It will find you. There are seasons when God hides you. You feel unseen, uncelebrated, unacknowledged. But that hiddenness is holy. It is not punishment, it is preservation. God hides you to heal you. He conceals you to complete you, because a premature exposure can destroy what has not yet matured. You think you are forgotten, but you are being fortified. You are in the secret workshop of God, and when He reveals you again, you will not look like what you have been through. You will shine with the mark of someone who has been refined by divine fire and molded by unseen hands. That is why restoration is never just a return. It is a revelation of who you have become through the waiting. When God restores, He restores with layers of meaning. He does not simply give you back things. He gives you back authority. You will not just have possessions, you will have a peace. You will not just have opportunities, you will have wisdom. You will not just have people, you will have discernment. Because God never wants you to repeat the cycles that caused the loss in the first place. Restoration is not a recycling of the past. It is a resurrection of divine purpose. It is God saying, I am giving you another chance. But this time, you will see with clearer eyes. Some of you are in the middle of a quiet transformation. You are not where you used to be, but you are not yet where you are going. It feels like you are in between, stuck between the loss and the restoration. But do not despise this in-between season. It is sacred. It is where the foundation of restoration is being laid. In the silence, God is rebuilding your faith. In the waiting, He is aligning your destiny. In the stillness, He is teaching you to hear His whisper. And when He moves, you will realize that everything you thought was wasted time was actually divine preparation. Many people pray for restoration but resist the refining. Yet God will not restore what still carries the cracks of yesterday. He wants to fill the gaps in your heart before He fills your hands. He wants to purify your motives before He multiplies your blessings. He wants to restore your perspective before He restores your possessions. Because true restoration begins within. The outward change is only a reflection of the inward transformation. When your soul heals, your life begins to align. When your heart trusts, your blessings begin to flow. There is a hidden strength inside you that loss could not destroy. It was buried under pain, but it is still there. God is calling it forth. He is awakening your forgotten courage, reviving your silent dreams, and reigniting your divine fire. You are stronger than you realize. Every night you survived, every battle you endured, every disappointment you overcame, those were proofs of resilience. And now that same strength will carry you into restoration. You will not enter this next season as a victim, but as a vessel poured out, purified, and prepared for divine abundance. God's restoration often begins where human ability ends. When you can no longer fix it, that is when He steps in. When you stop trying to control the outcome, that is when He releases His power. Surrender invites restoration. When you let go of the need to understand, God fills the space with peace. When you stop holding on to what broke, He places in your hands what blesses. You cannot receive with a clenched fist. You must release in order to receive. You must trust that God's hands are gentler than your own. And when God restores, He will do it in a way that makes sense only in hindsight. You will look back and say, now I see why that had to happen. Because divine restoration always carries divine wisdom. The pain you endured taught you discernment. The rejection you faced taught you redirection. The silence you experienced taught you stillness. Every lesson was shaping your spiritual maturity, preparing you for the responsibility of what is coming. God will never give you something that your character cannot sustain. He restores when your maturity matches your destiny. You have not been forgotten. You have not been forsaken. You are being fashioned. There is a time appointed for everything under heaven, and your time is coming. The same God who restored peace after storms, light after darkness, and strength after weakness will do the same for you. Your tears have been recorded. Your faith has been tested. Your prayers have been heard. Nothing has gone unnoticed. And when God decides that your time has come, no obstacle can stand against it. But understand, this restoration is not always about recovering the same thing. Sometimes it is about receiving something better. You may have lost the people, but God will send those who nurture your growth. You may have lost a job, but He will open a path that aligns with your calling. You may have lost the confidence, but He will replace it with unshakable faith. Every area of loss carries a promise of divine compensation. God is too just to let you suffer in vain. Every tear sown in faith will return as a harvest of joy. Your restoration will not come through the hands of man. It will come through the command of God. He will touch hearts, open paths, and shift circumstances in your favor. People who once overlooked you will be moved to bless you without understanding why. Situations that once resisted, you will suddenly open with ease. You will walk into rooms that once rejected you and find your name being honored. That is what happens when God restores. He rearranges reality to favor His chosen ones. Do not measure your future by the fragments of your past. What is ahead of you is not dependent on what you lost. It is dependent on what God has decreed. And when God decrees restoration, it cannot be undone. He will restore the years that were consumed by pain, the seasons that were stolen by fear, and the dreams that were buried under disappointment. You will rise, not because of who you are, but because of whose you are. You belong to the God who restores. There are moments when restoration will feel like a chaos. Everything begins to move suddenly, doors opening, connections forming, blessings appearing out of nowhere. Do not be afraid of that divine turbulence. That is not confusion. That is reordering. When God restores, He shifts everything around you to align with His plan. What looks like instability is actually the rearranging of your destiny. So do not resist the movement. Flow with it. Trust that God knows what He is doing. You must prepare your heart to receive again. Restoration requires openness. It requires expectation. You cannot enter your new season with the mindset of your old one. The bitterness, the fear, the distrust, they must go. They are weights that prevent you from embracing what is next. God cannot fill a heart still holding resentment. He cannot restore to a mind still rehearsing old wounds. You must release the pain to make space for His promise. When you do, you will find that God has been waiting not to punish, but to pour out. And when He does, you will stand in awe. You will see doors open where walls once stood. You will see blessings flow where emptiness once reigned. You will see favor fall where rejection once lived. Your life will shift from mourning to dancing, from silence to singing, from scarcity to overflow. You will not just recover what you lost, you will rise to a level you never imagined. That is the nature of God's restoration. It always surpasses. Your story is not over. The ending you feared will become the beginning you celebrate. The emptiness you felt will become the evidence of how deeply God can feel. You will look back on this chapter and see it as the turning point, the sacred moment when loss became gain and pain became power. You will no longer live defined by what was taken, but by what was returned. For when God restores, He restores with glory, and His glory never fades. My friend, when everything in your life begins to shake, when doors that once opened easily now seem sealed shut, when people who once stood beside you suddenly disappear, when your prayers feel like they are hitting the ceiling instead of reaching the heavens, listen to me carefully. God is not absent. God is testing you before your breakthrough. What feels like abandonment is actually divine preparation. What feels like a silence is actually strategy. God is not punishing you, He is proving you. Before God promotes, He tests. Before God releases, He refines. Before God lifts you into the promise, He must see what your heart will do in the pressure. Many people cry out for blessing but are not ready for the weight of it. They want the breakthrough but not the process that shapes the strength to hold it. God cannot pour great glory into a vessel that still cracks under pressure. So He allows discomfort. He allows misunderstanding. He allows seasons of delay so that your spirit can be forged like iron in the fire. The same way gold must be purified through heat, your faith must be tested through trials. It is not because God enjoys your pain, it is because He sees your potential. Every chosen person in the history of time has walked through a valley before they reached their mountain. God's testing is never about destruction, it is about direction. He tests to position you for the promise. He hides you before He exposes you. He breaks you before He builds you. He empties you before He fills you. And in every test, there is one question echoing through the heavens. Will you still trust me? When you cannot see the plan, will you still hold on to God's hand? When the light fades and you are surrounded by uncertainty, will you still say, God, I believe you are working? Sometimes the test begins when everything familiar starts to crumble. You might lose the job you thought you needed. You might face betrayal from those you never imagined could turn on you. You might wake up one morning feeling like your prayers no longer carry power. But what if this is not a sign of loss, but a sign of transition? What if God is not taking something from you, but shifting you into something greater? Every time God is about to move you to a higher level, He must strip away what cannot survive there. That is why the test feels like a loss, but it is actually the making of your destiny. There are moments when God hides your success to protect your soul. You think He's forgotten you, but He's covering you. You think the world has passed you by, but God has set you apart. The test is not meant to destroy your faith. It is meant to deepen it. In the hidden place, God observes how you respond when no one is watching. Will you still worship when the applause stops? Will you still remain faithful when the blessings are delayed? Will you still stand firm when the winds of uncertainty blow against you? God tests your patience to see if you trust His timing. He tests your obedience to see if you trust His will. He tests your humility to see if you can handle greatness without pride. Every delay, every rejection, every moment of silence is a classroom where your soul is being instructed. You may not understand it now, but one day you will look back and say, if I hadn't gone through that season, I would not have become this strong. God's testing seasons are not about punishment, they are about preparation. When God tests you, He often removes the people and things that made you feel secure. He allows you to stand alone so that you may learn that your true strength was never in them, it was always in Him. The test is meant to isolate you from dependence on man so that you may depend fully on God. And when you finally stop running to others for validation and comfort, you will begin to hear God's voice clearly. The noise fades and His whisper becomes louder. If your life feels like it's falling apart, it might be falling into divine order. God sometimes allows confusion before clarity because He wants to rearrange your foundation. You may think the situation is chaotic, but in the unseen, God is aligning every piece of your future. He is removing what will not serve you in the next season. He is closing the doors that would lead you to destruction. The test is not random, it is precise. Every trial has a purpose. Every delay carries wisdom. When God is testing you before your breakthrough, you will notice that your prayers feel unanswered. But silence is not absence. When God is silent, He is observing When He hides His face, He is examining your heart. He wants to see if you serve Him for who He is, not just for what He gives. Anyone can praise God when everything is going well. But true faith is revealed when you can say, God, I trust you. Even when nothing makes sense, sometimes God will strip away everything you relied on to reveal that He alone is enough. You might lose the job, but you will find the purpose. You might lose the relationship, but you will discover peace. You might lose the opportunity, but you will uncover strength. Every loss under God's watchful eye is strategic. The test is meant to detach your heart from temporary things so that you can be anchored in eternal trust. There are seasons when God seems to delay your breakthrough, not because He wants to hurt you, but because He is protecting you from premature promotion. What if the very thing you are praying for right now would destroy you if it came too soon? God delays not to deny, but to develop. He waits until your character matches your calling. He waits until your spirit is strong enough to carry the weight of what He has prepared. And when that moment comes, no power in heaven or earth can stop what He has ordained for you. When you are being tested, you will be tempted to complain. You will feel like quitting. You will question why God allowed this to happen. But I tell you, don't curse the test, bless it. The very test that breaks you will also build you. The fire that burns away your comfort will also purify your character. If you can endure this season without losing faith, you will walk into your next season with power. Every tear you cry in this valley will water the soil of your future harvest. You see, God often tests your faith through contradiction. He gives you a promise and then allows everything around you to contradict that promise. You believe for healing, but the pain increases. You believe for provision, but the bills multiply. You believe for promotion, but doors close. Why? Because God wants to see if you believe His word above your circumstances. Faith is not proven in comfort, it is proven in contradiction. And those who hold on in contradiction are the ones who see the manifestation of God's power. There will be days when you say, God, I can't take anymore. But that is when you must remember, the moment just before dawn is always the darkest. The moment before your breakthrough will test every ounce of faith within you. That is when you must stand firm. Do not let your emotions make you forget what God has spoken. Do not let temporary pain make you abandon eternal purpose. The test is not meant to destroy you. It is meant to qualify you for what is coming. God tests you because He loves you. He allows you to walk through storms so you may learn that the waves cannot drown what God has destined. He allows you to face closed doors so that when He opens the right one, you will recognize the value of the opportunity. He allows people to reject you so that you stop seeking human approval and begin to rest in divine acceptance. The pain is not random. It is training. When you are in the test, remember this truth. God never wastes pain. Every disappointment is a divine appointment in disguise. Every tear is counted. Every sleepless night is recorded. And when the time comes, God will restore not only what you lost, but also the strength and wisdom you gained through the test. You will not come out the same. You will come out refined, wiser, and unshakably anchored in faith. Sometimes God's tests feel like a wilderness season. Nothing grows easily. Nothing flows naturally. You feel dry, weary, and forgotten. But remember, the wilderness is the proving ground of the faithful. It is where God teaches you to depend on His voice alone. In the wilderness, there are no shortcuts, no distractions, no applause, just you and God. And it is in that quiet, stripped down space that He reveals your true identity. When you can trust God in the wilderness, you will be prepared for the promised land. When you can praise Him in the pain, you will be prepared for the platform. When you can thank Him for the test, you will be ready for the testimony. God is shaping you for something greater than you can see right now. Your breakthrough is not just about you, it is about the lives that will be touched through your obedience. When God is testing you before your breakthrough, He begins to expose what cannot go with you into your next season. There are habits, relationships, and thought patterns that serve the purpose in your past, but they will not survive in your future. The test will feel like loss, but it is actually liberation. God begins to remove the unnecessary weights from your soul, because where He is taking you requires purity, not clutter. You cannot step into the fullness of a divine destiny while still holding on to things that keep you bound. That is why God shakes your foundation, not to destroy it, but to rebuild it stronger, deeper, and unshakable. There will be moments in the testing season when you ask, "Why me, God? Why now?" But the truth is, God chose you for this very test because He knows what He has placed inside you. He knows the strength that has not yet been revealed. He knows the faith that has not yet been fully expressed. God does not test the weak. He tests the strong. He tests those whom He intends to promote. So, if you feel like the fire has been turned up in your life, it is a sign that something powerful is about to be birthed within you. God refines those He plans to elevate. The intensity of the test is a reflection of the greatness of the assignment. When the pressure increases, it is because the promise is near. When the attacks intensify, it is because the enemy senses what God is about to release. Do not be surprised when you face opposition just before breakthrough. It is the pattern of divine destiny. Before every elevation, there comes agitation. Before every new level, there comes a storm. God allows it because He wants to see if you can remain steadfast under pressure. Anyone can worship in comfort, but true strength is revealed when you can stand firm in chaos and say, "God, I still trust you." You must understand that God's testing is not meant to take from you. It is meant to transform you. In the process of the test, God is molding your heart, reshaping your character, and stretching your faith. The very pain you wish to escape is the pain that will make you wiser. The very delay you despise is the delay that will protect you. Every moment of discomfort is an opportunity for deeper surrender. When you say, "God, not my will, but yours," you pass the test that leads to destiny. Sometimes God's tests are disguised as disappointments. You prayed for something you thought was good, but God said no. You tried to make a plan work, but every door closed. You felt frustrated because you thought God wasn't answering, but in truth, He was answering by protecting you. A closed door is not rejection, it is divine redirection. When God blocks something, it's because He sees the future you cannot see. The path you wanted might have looked easier, but it was not safer. God's no is never the end, it's the beginning of something better. When God is testing you, He often allows you to walk through seasons where nothing seems to make sense. You will feel like you're walking in circles, praying with no result, giving without return, and believing without visible evidence. But in that unseen space, God is aligning everything in divine order. The roots are growing beneath the soil, even when the tree seems lifeless. Your prayers are building momentum in the unseen realm. Just because you cannot see the breakthrough does not mean it is not coming. God works in silence because He's not preparing something small. He's preparing something extraordinary. There will be times when God tests your loyalty. He will observe how you act when no one is applauding. He will see how you serve when the spotlight fades. The test of character is not how you act when everyone celebrates you. It is how you act when no one sees you. If you can remain faithful in the small things, God will trust you with the greater things. Do not despise your hidden season, for it is in that hiddenness that God refines your spirit. The foundation of your destiny is being built in silence. Sometimes the test comes through people. God will allow others to misunderstand you, betray you, or criticize you unjustly, not because He wants to humiliate you, but because He wants to humble you. He wants to free you from the need to be understood, from the desire for validation, from the dependence on human approval. When you can face rejection and still keep your peace, you have passed one of the highest forms of divine testing. When your value is no longer defined by who accepts or rejects you, you become unstoppable. God's testing is deeply personal. It targets the areas of your life where your trust in Him is still weak. If you rely on finances, He will test you through lack. If you rely on relationships, He will test you through isolation. If you rely on comfort, He will test you through discomfort. Not to punish, but to purify. The goal of the test is to remove every crutch so that your faith stands solely on God. You cannot call it faith if it depends on visible proof. Real faith begins where certainty ends. When God tests you, He does not look at your performance. He looks at your posture. He looks at the attitude of your heart. Are you still grateful even when you have less? Are you still kind even when others are cruel? Are you still hopeful even when everything looks impossible? These are the questions that define your test. God examines your heart not to expose your weakness, but to awaken your strength. He sees the diamond within the dust, the power within the pain, the promise within the process. When the weight feels unbearable, remember this: God never gives a test beyond what you can handle. If you are in it, it is because He has already equipped you for it. You may feel weak, but within you lies a strength that has not yet been revealed. God would not allow this storm if He did not intend for you to walk out of it victorious. The test is not there to defeat you. It is there to reveal who you truly are under pressure. The closer you get to your breakthrough, the more intense the test becomes. That is why so many people give up right before their blessing arrives. The enemy wants you to quit at the final stretch, but you must press on. You must remind yourself, I've come too far to turn back now. The moment you feel like giving up is often the moment just before everything changes. The test is hardest right before it ends. God wants to see if you can hold your faith steady until the very last moment. God's testing is a sacred sign of trust. He does not waste His test on those without potential. If you are being tested, It means God sees something in you that even you cannot see. The trial you are facing is proof that heaven has invested in your destiny. God does not test the unprepared. He tests those who are ready for the next dimension. You might not feel ready, but God knows you are. You just need to believe that this fire will not consume you. It will purify you. When you feel forgotten, remember that God hides what He values most. Diamonds are hidden in the earth. Gold is buried deep beneath the ground, and seeds are planted in the dark before they bloom in the light. If you are hidden, it's because God is preparing you to shine at the appointed time. Do not despise your hidden season. It is sacred. It is where your roots grow deep, your spirit matures, and your character strengthens. There is something holy about being tested. It is in the test that your relationship with God becomes real. It is in the test that your dependence shifts from self to surrender. It is in the test that you begin to hear the still small voice of God more clearly than ever before. And when you finally emerge from that season, you will carry a wisdom and authority that no book, no mentor, no experience could ever give you. Because wisdom born of testing cannot be taught, it must be lived. You see, every great breakthrough comes after a great breaking. The soil must be broken before the seed can grow. The night must fall before the dawn can rise. The heart must be tested before it can carry divine power. The breaking does not mean God has abandoned you. It means He is trusting you with transformation. If you can remain faithful in your breaking, your blessing will overflow beyond the imagination. The test may seem long, but God's timing is perfect. He is not late. He is not distant. He is not silent. He is waiting for the moment when every lesson has been learned, every weakness has been strengthened, every fear has been conquered. And then, in a single moment, the breakthrough will come, not by force, not by luck, but by divine decree. And when it comes, it will make sense why you had to wait. When God is testing you before your breakthrough, the greatest battle you will ever face is not outside of you, it is within you. It is the battle between faith and fear, between trust and doubt, between surrender and control. The test exposes what still fights against God's will inside your heart. You may say with your lips, I trust God. But when everything begins to crumble, does your heart still believe it? When the bank account empties, when the diagnosis arrives, when friends walk away, can you still whisper, God, you are in control? That is where real faith is proven, not in words, but in quiet endurance. God allows the shaking to show you whether your foundation rests on emotions or on unshakable trust. The test is not about how loudly you pray when things go well. It's about how deeply you believe when things go wrong. God already knows what's in your heart, but He allows the test so you can see it too. He exposes the areas where fear still hides, where impatience still lives, where pride still lingers. The purpose is not to shame you, but to strengthen you. Because once you know your weakness, you can surrender it to God. Once you see the cracks, you can invite His hand to heal them. The test is the revelation before transformation. In the testing season, God begins to reorder your priorities. He takes away the false securities you once leaned on so that your trust returns to Him alone. You will notice how things that once mattered so much start losing their power over you. Status, possessions, validation, these things no longer satisfy your spirit. That is not loss, that is purification. God is detaching your soul from distractions because He wants to give you something that cannot be shaken. When everything else fades, His presence remains. When everyone else leaves, His hand still holds you. That is the purpose of the test, to teach you that when you have God, you have everything. Sometimes the test comes through silence. There are seasons when it feels as if heaven is closed, when you cry and no answer comes, when you seek and no sign appears. But silence does not mean absence. God is always speaking, just not in the ways you expect. In the silence, He trains your ear to hear the whisper, not the noise. In the quiet, He matures your faith so that you no longer depend on signs or emotions, but on conviction. Silence is sacred. It is the language of divine intimacy. When God is silent, it means He trusts you to walk by faith. Do not mistake the test for punishment. If God wanted to punish you, He would not refine you. He would remove you. But the fact that He is still working in your life means He has not given up on you. Every test you face is a sign that God still sees greatness in you. He disciplines those He loves because He wants to bring forth something powerful through them. The greater the calling, the greater the testing. You cannot carry divine power with an untested heart. God will not place the crown of destiny on a soul that cannot handle the weight of adversity. The test ensures that when the blessing arrives, it will not destroy you, it will strengthen you. The test also reveals who is truly with you. When God starts preparing you for your breakthrough, He will separate you from those who are not meant to walk into your next season. The same people who cheered for you in comfort may disappear when the trial begins. Do not chase them. Let them go. Their departure is not rejection. It is divine protection. God is creating space for new alignments, for people who will support your growth and honor your journey. Every time someone leaves, thank God. Every time a door closes, thank God. Because if it was essential for your destiny, it would have stayed. When God is testing you, He may allow your plans to fail, not because they are wrong, but because they are too small. You thought your dream was big, but God's vision for your life is far greater. You wanted the comfort. He wanted the character. You wanted the progress. He wanted transformation. So He shakes your plans so you can learn to trust His. The disappointment you feel today is often the foundation of tomorrow's miracle. What you thought was the end was actually the turning point. Every delay in God's plan is pregnant with a divine purpose. You will also notice that during your testing, people who seem less faithful might appear to be more blessed. You will look around and ask, God, why are others moving ahead while I am stuck? But God's testing is individual. He is not measuring you by anyone else's timeline. While others may be enjoying temporary blessings, you are being prepared for something eternal. Do not compare your process with theirs. God's work in you is unique. He is not rushing because He wants to build a foundation that cannot be shaken by fame, failure, or fortune. Sometimes God's tests are hidden within opportunities. Not every open door is from Him. Some doors are traps that test your discernment. You may be offered something that looks good, but would pull you away from God's purpose. When you are aligned with the divine will, you will begin to sense peace or disturbance deep in your spirit That is the inner compass of God guiding you. The test then becomes whether you will choose convenience or conviction. The breakthrough only comes when you choose God over gain, truth over temptation, integrity over comfort. During the test, your emotions will scream for relief, but your spirit must learn to wait. God's timing is perfect because He sees the whole picture while you only see a piece. Every delay, every detour, every pause has meaning. The waiting season is not wasted. It is woven into your destiny. God uses waiting to mature your spirit, to strengthen your patience, and to align your desires with His will. Waiting is the soil where trust grows. When you learn to wait well, you show heaven that you are ready to receive what has been prepared for you. There are times when God tests your endurance through repeated challenges. Just when you think you have overcome one obstacle, another appears. Do not lose heart. It is the layering of strength. God builds resilience through repetition. Every wave that hits you does not drown you, it trains you. You are becoming spiritually stronger, wiser, more discerning. The very situations that once broke, you are now teaching you mastery. That is the purpose of prolonged testing, to turn you from a survivor into a warrior. When you are being tested, God does not want perfection. He wants persistence. You may stumble, but rise again. You may doubt, but hold on. You may cry, but keep moving forward. The test is not about never falling. It is about never quitting. The true measure of faith is endurance under pressure. God watches not how fast you run, but how faithfully you finish. Your persistence in the test becomes your power in the breakthrough. There will also be tests of humility. God may bless you in small ways first to see how you handle it. Will you give Him glory for the little before He trusts you with the great? The humble heart attracts divine favor. Pride blocks blessing faster than sin ever could. When God lifts you, remain low before Him. Never forget that every victory, every open door, every answered prayer is not a result of your strength, but His mercy. The test of humility never ends, for it is the foundation of divine favor. Sometimes God will test you through responsibility. He will place something small in your hands and watch how you treat it. If you are faithful with the small, He will trust you with the great. But if you neglect what seems insignificant, how can He trust you with abundance? Every blessing begins as a test. The position you pray for, the resources you seek, the influence you desire, each one carries a test within it. God blesses only those who have proven they can handle it with integrity. In the midst of testing, never forget that God is closer than you think. You may not feel Him, but He is watching every tear, measuring every sigh, counting every moment of endurance. His eyes are upon you, not to judge you, but to guide you. He delights in those who remain steadfast, who keep believing when everything inside them says, quit. Each act of faith in the darkness sends the ripples through the unseen realm. Heaven watches, and at the appointed time, the breakthrough comes not slowly, not partially, but suddenly. You will wake up one day and realize that everything you went through had a purpose. The tears taught you wisdom. The silence taught you discernment. The pain taught you compassion. The waiting taught you faith. And the breakthrough that once seemed distant will arrive like sunrise after a long night. You will understand that the test was not to delay you, but to define you. You will look back and say, now I see, God was never late. He was preparing me. And when your breakthrough finally comes, it will not just be a blessing, it will be a testimony. Others will see what you endured and find the strength to endure their own tests. Your story will become someone else's survival guide. That is why you cannot quit in the middle of your process. Your obedience is connected to the destiny of others. God is using your life as a message to the world that faith, when tested, always triumphs. So hold on a little longer. The test is the doorway to transformation. The pain is the prophecy of purpose. The silence is the sign that something sacred is forming. Do not fear the fire, it is forging your future. Do not curse the storm, it is carrying you closer to your destination. Every moment of this test is divine. Every tear is counted. Every prayer is heard. And when it is over, you will not just receive what you prayed for, you will become who God destined you to be.